free now. Might as well get started. Maybe if I just talk more into the microphone, that might... I don't want to harass the AV people, so I'll just remember to talk directly into it, as people should with dynamic microphones. Hello, everyone. How are we all feeling? That's good. Excellent. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. How are we all feeling today? Yay! Excellent. Are we ready to learn about social media algorithms? Can I get a little bit more enthusiasm, please? Yay, thank you. Thank you, because this is very much a corporate presentation that I have furrified a bit. It's also what I do for a job, and it is also a little bit of a special interest of mine. I'm going to try and keep this brief and not ramble, but it's a very real possibility. First of all, as always, acknowledgement of country. This meeting is taking place on the lands of the Kaurna people, and this always was and always will be Aboriginal land, and sovereignty was never ceded. For anyone who might be watching internationally for whatever reason on Twitch, yeah, it's a thing that's never really been addressed in Australia, and it should be. So hello. First thing you might be wondering is, who are you? And why should I listen to you? It's a very good question. Hi, hello. My name is, I'm Z. You might know me by my online handle as ScribblyNoodle. Hopefully that's, I haven't tested this for like font size. This is probably a little bit shit, so I apologize. I'm a streamer, I'm a content creator. I'm also a marketing professional. It's what I do in my day job. This is a bit of a resume, but I am a digital marketing professional with 9 years of experience. I was recently hired in the last year by one of the major accounting firms internationally on the Australian branch for digital marketing, as well as search engine optimization and algorithm expertise. I've previously worked for an intellectual property firm for 6 years, doing both general marketing and digital marketing. Yay! IP, let's go. In that time, I built up a very significant year-on-year increases in a very limited field, because if you think intellectual property, patents, trademarks, and copyright is exciting, you are in the minority of the population. Most people don't care. I'm also a dedicated streamer, I'm an illustrator, I'm a voice actor, I do all sorts of things. Yes, I've made some banger posts. No, I don't have 1 billion followers, and I would be suspicious of anyone who gets up here with like 100,000 followers and says, here's how you can do what I did, because no one can tell you how to do that. But I will get on a little bit onto more why that's not as important. But if you want a little bit of some bangers of mine, I did a voice acting tweet for Zenless Zone Zero that got like 2,000 likes. I dunked on game journalism, that got 10,000 likes. I dunked on payment providers, that did pretty well. And yeah, I also did some art that everyone really liked. I don't know why. I don't know. I have no idea why people would like this. There's no reason at all. So, what I'm covering. I'm going to be going through what an algorithm is and what it does. We'll be starting off very basic, because I do feel like a lot of people talk about the algorithm without actually quite understanding what they are. I feel like we all use them, we're all subject to them, but I feel like there's just not a lot of transparency about what it is. I'll also be talking a bit like why platforms use them, because I feel like a lot of people say, I don't understand why Twitter has everything non-chronologically, or why no posts are chronological anymore. I'll also be talking a little bit about how they work, your best practices for posting, and also the better metrics of success. Because if I see people walking around talking about what makes you good at things and using the wrong metrics, I will yell at you. Disclaimer though, this presentation is not a silver bullet. You will not walk out of here immediately becoming a famous content creator. But I will be teaching you a lot of stuff that will help, and I think that knowing how this stuff works is generally very useful. So, what is an algorithm? Quite simply put, an algorithm is just a very fancy mathematical way of solving problems. The first problem that this was employed to, well, not the first problem in general, but the first problem on the internet this was used to solve was the question of how do we catalog websites and their content? Because way back in the days of dial-up internet, the internet was just a whole bunch of people putting things on personal websites, and there wasn't really a way to find any of that unless you knew where you were looking. A lot of existing companies had methods of old media like printed newsletters and all sorts of things that they use to tell people about this wonderful new thing called the internet, full of things like electronic mail, a new way that you can use to get in contact with us that isn't the phone. Yippee! But it still led to a lot of people not being able to find the things they want. The first search engines, however, appeared probably a lot earlier than you think, in as early as 1990. That was with a search engine known as Archie, which was actually named after the Archie comics. It was very clunky. It was very difficult to use. You had to know how to use it. You had to put in a lot of keyword equals and know exactly how to put your query in to find anything, but it was still better than blindly just typing in URLs. Search engines, however, hit their popularity in the mid to late 90s with the dot-com boom, which is where we start seeing Google, Yahoo, and Ask. Now, you might be wondering, why the hell is Ask on here? Ask Jeeves, as you might remember it if you're as old as I am, Ask Jeeves was very interesting because both Google and Yahoo for years also operated under that same method that Archie used. You had to know how to use a search engine. They weren't actually very, intuitive at all. Ask Jeeves was the first one where you could actually propose a question, or one of the first anyway. You could ask Jeeves, hey, Jeeves, how many cafes are in Paris? And it would give you a list of cafes in Paris, which, while it might not be the perfect answer to your question, was still better than, again, clunkily entering in search engine terms. Now, you're probably all wondering, this is all relevant, by the way. This all comes together throughout the presentation. This isn't just a history lesson. Early web days, this was the best way to find content because, yes, as I mentioned, everyone was sort of... There was a big transition away from traditional media. Old media still existed, and most things were still done. There was a lot of things still done in print. So the concept of algorithms was mostly tied to search engines for probably up until about the mid-2000s. And this is where the idea of things like search engine optimization comes from. Now, who here, I just want to get a quick show of hands, who here feels like Google has gotten worse? Everyone! Yes, it has gotten worse because of this. I do this. It's terrible. It's a thing that no one should have ever been given the knowledge to do. I am sorry. I am part of the problem. I have ruined the internet for you. Search engine optimization is basically the idea that if you use the right keywords in the right way, and if you tailor your content specifically, you will get better placement on Google without paying anything. Now, you can always get better placement by paying money. Money solves all problems in the world of capitalism that we live in, but most people don't want to spend money, so they go for this instead. They hire someone like me who comes in with all of their knowledge about how this horrid stuff works and tells you, yes, here's the way you can do it the best. And this has poisoned the internet almost irreparably, because if you want to find something, you have to put Reddit at the end of it and hope someone on Reddit was asking, how do I fix this thing that's wrong with my computer? Because when you put up, hey, my computer freezes in a way that I can't replicate, you don't really get an answer to your question. You just get a bunch of advertisements and weird posts from Microsoft employees going, here's how to fix your problem, referring to a forum post from 9 years ago. But algorithms then started to be picked up by social media. So social media hit the scene about the mid to late 2000s. It was very, very larval. Some of you might remember MySpace, which was more like an evolution of GeoCities. The real social media trend really did hit with, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook, which has definitely not changed the way we interact with human beings forever. Instagram also up there. Twitter, I'll be in the cold, cold ground before I call it X. Twitter also existed, but all of these things have one thing in common. When they first started, none of them used an algorithm. You followed people, you got the posts in just the date order in which it was posted. That was the easiest way of sorting content as it happened. And that's all people cared to do. You would scroll, you would catch up to where you were the day before, and then you would log off. It was a beautiful, beautiful time until the early 2010s, when Facebook began implementing a content algorithm known as EdgeRank to begin catering content specifically to its users. And if this sounds terrible, it's because it is. No longer were your posts chronological. You now only saw what was popular. You only saw things that was trending. You only saw the best parts of your friends' lives, which, again, I'm sure has had no negative impact on how we interact with each other in real life whatsoever. So, you've heard me say that algorithms are pretty much terrible constantly. So you're probably asking now, well, why use them? Why bother? This seems like a lot of effort to go to for something. Algorithms help platforms, in particular social media platforms, keep users on their site. Now, you might be wondering why this is. Social media, when it first started, made absolutely zero money because it was just server costs of people just posting things about their day. Until they realized there are a lot of people looking at this website, this can be sold to advertisers. So really the main reason they do it is for money. If you're doom scrolling, if you're constantly scrolling through your social media feed and never leaving, you are then seeing more advertisements. And if you think advertising has no effect on you, just remember that, that Garfield meme, you are not immune to propaganda. Just replace propaganda with marketing. Marketers are always several steps ahead of you. And it's more of a subliminal thing. If you just keep seeing it, it just gets drilled into your brain over time until you start thinking, maybe I do want to buy a Mercedes-Benz. Algorithms are also very self-sustaining these days as well, and do a lot to collect data as well as serve things to you. So this data now has turned social media providers into data brokers, which is a huge industry worth billions of dollars. Your information is so valuable to companies. And the way you interact with things, the way you interact with content is so valuable because it helps people tailor things specifically to you to get money out of your pocket. But a lot of social media companies aren't even interested in that. They're interested in selling this data to the relevant parties. There is some good to algorithms, though. Algorithms do serve both consumers and creators well in a lot of instances because if you don't have an audience, but you're posting correctly, your content can be shown to people who never would have seen it otherwise. And this is how a lot of people have gotten. It's a little bit of a luck thing, but there is the element of making your own luck with algorithms. There is a way to post, there is a way to do things that... I want to give an example here. Pirate Software is a good one because I think a lot of people might know who they are. They're a Twitch streamer. But chances are, if you're in the IT or furry space or just gaming space, you probably got for a little period of time so many of his YouTube shorts. He was posting them every day, 12 p.m. Pacific time, so that's lunchtime in Silicon Valley, every day for several months. And the algorithm likes that for reasons I'll get into later. And that's how he kind of went from a reasonably successful, game dev streamer to hugely successful to what he is now. And that's because of the algorithm. The algorithm showed him to a lot of people who liked his content, but wouldn't have seen it otherwise and wouldn't have known where to find him unless you know someone who knows someone, word of mouth, unless that travels. The other reason platforms will use them, though, is there is this idea. Platforms love success stories like that, though, because platforms, social media and otherwise, a lot on the internet today, rely on you to create the content for them. All they offer you is a stage. It's literally this. What I've got right here is all a social media platform is offering you. It is a microphone, it is some seats, and it is a stage. And they tell you, well, anyone can be very successful. So they want you to keep providing content because that's good. That keeps people on there. That's another reason why they use algorithms. As we've seen also, one thing that is worth mentioning, algorithms are very, very susceptible to bias. The Twitter algorithm leaked a little while ago, and some users are more equal than others, which is really, really bad. There is currently nothing stopping this. I just wanted to point that out there and say if the algorithm feels biased against certain types of content, it's because it is. So, how does it all work? How do algorithms do it? The short answer is, I don't know. I honestly don't. Because a lot of the currently employed algorithms, so I mentioned one that was used earlier, it was called EdgeRank. That's an old algorithm that Facebook uses, and because it's old, nothing's protected anymore, so people were really able to get into it and find out how it works, and actually a lot of documentation was released on it. It's actually quite interesting if you ever wanted to give it a read, which if you're looking to fall asleep at night, I highly recommend reading up on algorithms. It's a real page-turner. But the thing is, a lot of these algorithms are protected as trade secrets. Now, this is really important because if you have a patent or a trademark or even copyright, there is usually always some sort of public register for this stuff. A patent is, for instance, in Australia, all patents are lodged in IP Australia as all trademarks, and you can look them up at any time. You can look up any patent for anything that has been patented in Australia, and you can see its technical specifications and how it works and all that stuff. It's great because it also keeps things transparent, but also means that, like, hey, you can't have my idea because, you know, this is how it works and your thing is exactly like mine and everyone knows it. Trade secrets are a little bit different. Now, I won't go into it because I'm not an IP lawyer. I just worked in a place for a long time, so I know a little bit about it. But a trade secret is normally put into an employer's contract. So when let's say I started working for Google as an algorithm engineer or whatever the title might be, and they might put into the contract of you can't tell anyone about anything to do with how this works. You are not allowed to tell a soul. Don't tell the media, don't tell your family, don't tell your friends, don't tell your wife, or we will send the Pinkertons to your house. And if you do leak it, yeah, you can be taken to court for breach of legal action. Another little bit of a cooked thing is that sometimes happens in the game dev industry that I'm pretty sure happens in the social media industry is there's often a clause that if you leave, let's say I left Google, there might be a clause that says, I will be paid a retainer to not work in the industry again, so that my knowledge does not spread to anywhere else and no one can use it. So a lot of the information that we do get is, like, sometimes you get leaks, sometimes people just put stuff out there and they get away with it, sometimes they don't and they get taken to court. Most of what we know is observed behavior and trial and error. Because if you just keep, with the amount of people that use social media and post and everything, it's just a matter of time before people start seeing, we're human beings, we recognize patterns. You get a billion people recognizing patterns and suddenly everyone's talking about it, and then you start seeing clear trends. And that's more or less how we know how this stuff works. There we go. If you want to know a little bit more, there is actually some interesting websites that you can... So as I said, there's places where this is published. SearchEngineJournal.com, an absolutely great one. That covers everything. It covers search engines. It covers social media. They talk about a lot of interesting trends. Another one is Sprout Social. Sprout Social I particularly like because they do a report every year on the best times to post on social media. And I will get into that as well because timing is an important thing. It's not the only thing, but it is still an important thing for posting well. There we go. The best way to describe it, however, I'm not going to leave you with nothing, like me getting up here and saying, here's how to post better, I don't know, isn't particularly useful for us. So I will give you information on how it works. This is the bit where I could, if I had 2 hours to do a panel, we would be on this slide forever. I would not shut up. It would go on forever, so I have to keep this relatively brief. The best way to describe it is that every post and piece of content is subject to an unseen scoring system. This is how the Google search algorithm does it. You have a whole bunch of different pieces that detract. Let's say you start with 100 points. You have a lot of things that then detract you from 100 points, and then a lot of things that bring you back up closer to it. The closer you can get to 100, the better. Some examples of this criteria include, particularly for social media, affinity. How closely is a user tied to another? So if you are mutuals with someone and they post content and it's not delivered in a chronological order, you are more likely to see it. If you are, think of it like the Kevin Bacon scale, the degrees of separation between you and another person. If you're a 2 or a 3 on the Bacon scale, you're probably more likely to see that person's post. If you start getting up to 6 and beyond, forget it, you will not see it based on affinity. Weight is an interesting one. By the way, these are all things that used to be used by EdgeRank. A lot of social algorithms still use this. They might just call it a different thing. Weight's an interesting one because this is your likes, your comments, your engagements and tags. A lot of people generally think, more likes, the more likely it is to be seen. And for the most part, that's true. Because the more engagement you get, the higher the score sort of creeps up. But then you've got time. Time is a decaying criteria. So the longer a post exists, the more time goes on, the more it detracts from its score over time. So that's why as time goes on, you'll stop getting notifications for something that you post because the time score just keeps detracting more and more of it. And if you weren't scoring particularly high on these two, it's gone. It disappears. No one will ever see it again unless you shove it in their face. Domain/username authority is an interesting one. Now, domain authority is what Google uses for search engine optimization, but there is a level of this in use on social media. And what this basically means, it does lead to a little bit the rich get richer, because not all domains and users are equal. As I said, Twitter literally leaked their algorithm, and it turns out that some users, you'll always see their posts unless you've completely blocked them. The more engagement an entity receives, the more their score increases and assists them. So you have sort of a score that's assigned to your domain or username called authority, and the more that goes up, the more you're seen as, you know, an authority on what you post or talk about. So clearly, so that's why you'll see a lot of big businesses and things that have been on the internet for a long time. No matter what they do, if they make a new post, if the accounting firm I worked for made a page tomorrow, it would probably be ranked 3 or 2 on Google. Why? Because we just have that much high domain authority. Because our name attached to our domain means so much, it's just automatically afforded a massive boost to score. Trends and topics is another one. If a topic is trending and everyone is talking about it, if a social media company decides that's important and you post on that, that also is something that's given extra weight. The last one is quality. Now, quality is an interesting one because you want to go out there and say, well, obviously good posts are going to do better. But then we do quite literally have posts that are terrible, but everyone thinks they're funny, so we all engage with them. Algorithms are really bad at knowing what's good. They use all of this other stuff or various other metrics to decide whether something's good or not. For example, YouTube uses video length. Did you know YouTube's desired video length for things that aren't shorts, 7 to 12 minutes. If you're making a YouTube video, do not go over 12 minutes, preferably make it longer than 7. You can take that one. That's literally, they've just come out and said that. So this leads me to the best practices of posting. Now that we have all of this information, now that we've got all this criteria, how do we use it? So I always say the same thing to people, because like I said, how does an algorithm work? People at work ask me, I don't know. So I refer to this as, it's a weird one, I just came up with it and someone said I should use it. It's called diet and exercise, because if anyone says, I want to get fitter, how do I do it? There's a million, it's a very close comparison, because there's a lot of people who say, I want to get popular, how do I do it? And you'll get a lot of people who are influencers in the space, and they give you this trick will definitely work, and it doesn't, and you wonder why. And if you want to get fitter or whatever, there's a lot of health influencers who will give you a lot of bogus advice that does anything, when really it just depends on what you're eating and how active you are. So in this case, diet is good quality content, and exercise is consistency. Consistency does not mean frequency. Posting every day is good, but it doesn't automatically mean success. Think of it as a dice roll. The more times you roll a dice, yes, of course you're going to hit a nat 20 or double sixes or however you want to look at it. The more times you roll, that increases your probability. But the better thing would be to, roll your dice maybe 2 or 3 times a week, however much works for you, and do it at the same time each time. Consistency is consistently posting at a predictable time is not only more achievable for you, but it creates a pattern. Algorithms love patterns. People love patterns. If there is a pattern, if people know every Friday I can expect a new video post from my favorite YouTuber, they will check every Friday, even subconsciously. They'll open up expecting it to see there. The algorithm knows they're going to be checking it, so it will put that front and center. If you stream on Twitch, a consistent schedule is the best thing you can do. If people know you're going to be streaming every Monday at 7 p.m., then they'll be there because they know you're going to be there every time. And Twitch will also reward that because it'll go, he's got a stream scheduled every Monday, 7 p.m. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? You should come and watch me. Anyway, subliminal advertising aside, patterns are good, consistency is good. I wouldn't focus, if you wanted to post better, don't focus on frequency, focus on being consistent. Another good thing that helps with this, by the way, is content scheduling. Like, if you're going to every single social media platform individually, and putting your posts up, grab something like Buffer. Buffer's a good one. You can connect that to several different accounts at the same time, and then you can just sort of fire and forget. You can schedule all of your posts to go out, on this day or at this time, anything like that. and then you just leave it. It does it. It's like Postybird's also good. My problem with Postybird is that your computer needs to be on for that, which makes perfect sense. Who wants to pay for server costs? But Buffer's a good one. Feel free to use that one. You can take that from me. Posting time does still matter. Like I said, I use Pirate software as a bit of a... let me check how I'm going. Oh yeah, I got heaps of time. Posting time still matters. I mentioned Pirate software because he's a good one, because he literally talked about how he was successful with YouTube Shorts, posting one every day. You don't have to do it every day, but he posted it at the same time. Lunchtime, Pacific time. So again, there's a lot of different things. I mentioned Sprout Social as well. They do a study every year on, because it does often change, on per platform what the best posting times are. If you are interested in that, head to Sprout Social or just type in Sprout Social 2025 best posting times. You'll get the most recent one. It does depend on your audience location. It also depends on a whole bunch of other different things. But that's the main one, is obviously time zones, which... we're all furries here. We all have friends internationally usually. So we're very used to the whole idea of like, what time is it for you? 3 a.m.? Go to bed. Tags are important. A lot of people sort of over years have gotten out of the habit of using hashtags. Most people just chuck stuff up. You don't need to, but hashtags provide metadata. Now metadata, again, I could talk for an hour on that alone, but that's stuff that works in the back end. And generally you don't have much control over. That's where a lot of the scoring is like sort of controlled. It's all controlled by metadata. There's also a lot of metadata associated with your account, who you are, what kind of interests you have, and then that depends on, how an algorithm delivers content. Remember how I said algorithms are collecting data about you at the same time? This is all metadata. By the way, if you ever want to know, it's always very interesting. It's often buried in settings. Anyone that collects data on you is provided to disclose it. They don't tell you this, and they hide it in settings. Have a look, if you ever get the chance, go delving into your Google settings. They change it every time, but have a look at who they think you are. It's very funny sometimes how old they think you are, what gender they think you are, how many kids they think you have. But yes, tags are important because this is, as a user, generally your only way to influence metadata. And this is the metadata that is associated with topic. Because an algorithm's already collecting data on what topics people are interested in regardless. So this helps you. It also helps people find your content. So don't get out of the habit of tagging. It's actually very, very useful. Quality. So remember when I said quality doesn't mean good. It just means it should be engaging. Now some people, this is why you've seen a rise of people on Twitter who just make the worst posts imaginable because they want you to be upset. Because if you're upset, you're commenting and you're sharing and you're dunking them in the quote retweets. Yeah, that'll show them. It doesn't. It tells the algorithm, wow, this post is great. Because remember, an algorithm is blind. An algorithm has no idea what's good. A computer doesn't know the computer has no idea what quality is. It just knows what people are interacting with. So bad interactions are just as terrible as good interactions. I have another question for you all. How many people have felt like this? So who here uses TikTok? Yep, a few of you. How many of you have felt that your algorithm gets messed up really easily? Yep. Have you disliked anything, hoping that would send it away? Yes. So, disliking something, again, it's still engagement. What you've told the algorithm, because you looked at it, you engaged with it, the algorithm goes, oh, I see, you just didn't like this post. I'll find another post of this topic, and I'll put that in front of you, and maybe you'll like that one. No, you didn't like that one. All right, I'll keep finding more, because you're engaging with this, until I find one that you like. Thank you for telling me. An algorithm doesn't know what quality is. But if you want something to be good, let's say you're an artist, it's an interesting thing. I don't know. Try asking a question. Try asking people. There's a reason you see all those people who, for instance, on Blue Sky Twitter, who say, hey, I think one I saw recently was, quote retweet if you with a bunny if you see a bunny, and then someone was like, oh, here's my bunny artwork, and it just kept going because not only is everyone sharing it, everyone's interacting with it. It's engagement, and everyone's commenting with their own. They might not be sharing it. They might not be sharing, but they might be like putting in the comments, oh, here's my one. That's how those go viral. That's how they travel. It's not just the sharing. It's also because the algorithms are putting them in front of you because they're very engaging. So, I don't know. It doesn't mean every post you have to have has to be asking a question, but if you can encourage engagement, that is also a good thing. Also, if you do want to support your artist friends, leave a comment. It doesn't have to be anything much. It could just be like, woo, it could be the eyes emoji for all I care. But it does, again, like, an algorithm doesn't care necessarily how long the comment is or what's in it because computers can't really... They're getting better. AI is parsing language, which is terrifying and an issue of itself. So that may change. But yes, leaving something, anything in the comments is still good. I mentioned this earlier, the better metrics of success. So there really is one. I keep talking about it. It is engagement. Engagement's the most important one. It's way better to have a small but engaged audience than a massive one that doesn't talk to you. A small but engaged audience, the rest of it will follow. So if I was to tell anyone to focus on anything, it would be focus on engagement first. There's a number of different ways to do this. You don't have to trick it out of people. I think it's just that matter of... It's very tempting as well, particularly because as everything moves so fast, to just want to churn out as much content as possible. I would love, personally, this is just me to you, I would love to see a return to the internet where people commented on things because they liked it, because it was interesting, because they felt the need to, because the content was good. A lot of people get really caught up in follow account. I think this is one that a lot of people, particularly, in the furry fandom or even just in social media in general, a lot of people go, oh, I don't have as many followers as this person, or this person must be really popular because they have this many followers. A follow account, all it is an indication of your maximum potential organic reach. So if you had 2,000 followers, for instance, that means... regardless of shares, regardless of engagement, regardless of algorithm, the most people you can reach at any given time, if they were all looking at their computer at the same time, and you can see how, like, everything has to align. You could get 2,000 comments, 2,000 shares, 2,000 likes. That's the most engagement you can get. And when you look at it that way, you sort of go, oh, yeah, it's... And the thing is, you probably don't get that. Also, between things like the dead internet theory and the fact that a neural network can create 1,000 accounts that don't exist. This number is becoming way less important. I would not focus on this whatsoever. It's interesting, it's good, it makes you feel good, absolutely celebrate it, it's an accomplishment, but I wouldn't hold it in the esteem that I think a lot of people do. It's just not that important. Like I said, particularly as well considering that you could be somewhere... I do see a lot of people and I understand the fear of like, oh, I have a lot of following on Twitter, and I don't want to leave that. I don't want to jump to another social media site. First of all, never put all your eggs in one basket. But second of all, look at your engagement, because that will tell you how many of those people actually exist, how many of them are still posting, how many accounts are still active, how many of them are just bots with a "this person doesn't exist" photo that then tries to get in your DMs and give you the worst impressions of humanity possible. Views and impressions, likewise, are held in higher regard than necessary. A lot of social media companies, I hate this, I don't do this at my job, I've never done this at my job. So many digital marketers talk around and say, hey, we got 50,000 impressions on that post, go us! Yeah, how many likes did you get? How many comments did you get? Were these good impressions? Did people like the content? YouTube removed the dislike function because they said, oh, well, we don't want people being mean with it. Now, I get that. I definitely do. There's another reason they did it. Because it doesn't look good to advertisers if you say, hey, our best performing videos, people hate them, actually. It doesn't look so good when your main advertisement revenue comes from people watching KFC ads before your favorite YouTube video over lunch. as I mentioned, small but highly engaged audience is overall much better than massive popularity that tapers off. Now, some people do hit massive popularity and manage to keep that. That's very hard to do, but it does happen. And my hat goes off to those people because that is one of the hardest things to do. A lot of people get their moment in the spotlight, and then the spotlight closes, and that's the end of it. Also, remember to look at the overall trend. If you can ever get all of your analytics, don't be afraid of analytics. They don't mean you're bad. You just need to look at them very objectively. But if you can put them all together and look at a trend line, if that trend line is going up, I am so proud of you. You are doing amazing. Because as long as it's going up, you're fine. But also, number go up is a very corpo thing, so it's not the be-all and end-all. Not everyone in the internet is real, and a lot of metrics are becoming less and less valuable as digital marketing... I don't know what I wrote there. Digital marketing stairs? Whatever. Numbers can be fudged very easily. People do it all the time. I might have done it in a previous job. Don't look at me. But it's so easy because a lot of people who are in management positions don't know what a computer is or how it works. And it's so easy to lie to those people when you just present them with a graph and say, hey, number went up. Good. And they go, well done. Here's a promotion and the keys to my car. The last thing I will leave you with, though, is the only person who can decide your success is you. So I talked a lot about data. I talked a lot about numbers. I talked a lot about how to be better. You're the only one that can decide that. At the end of the day, the internet is a means of communication and nothing more. If you're getting your message across to people, and it's a good message, and people like it, I think that's enough. But really, it's up to you. Only you can decide what that is. If chasing a high follower count or chasing a lot of views strives you to be better, go all for that. If you want a small but dedicated audience, go for that. It's whatever drives you further is the only metric of success that you need. So anyway, thank you very much for your time and attention, everyone. I hope you found this informative. I'm almost right on time. In case you forgot, my name is ScribblyNoodle. You can call me Z. I'm an artist, I'm a VTuber, I'm a furry, I am a voice actor and illustrator, and I'm from Melbourne as well. So I'm actually an interstate visitor here in Adelaide, and you guys have been putting on a wonderful, wonderful first con. Thank you very much to the staff of A2 for putting on this absolutely fantastic show and for having me. If you are interested in me a little bit more, I'm going to do a little bit of self-promo. Yes, I do stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. AEDT/AEST, whichever's in 7 p.m. Melbourne time. I also post a fair bit on Blue Sky. Despite everything I told you, I'm very bad at posting consistently. But it's fine. I actually don't care. I go there to have fun. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed.
Thank you, Z!